cases against the Black Panthers. And she's in a very good position for Side B right now. More stuff, again, we could spend a bunch of time. What are we up to? 2013. The DACA beneficiaries, the numbers started jumping hugely, by the thousands and thousands and thousands. The Obama administration starts freeing illegal aliens, and he was using the sequester as an excuse for doing all of that. They started furloughing Border Patrol agents. There were guys being sent home. In Los Angeles County, where I was from, they let like 12 guys go in one day. They said, your services, and these were ICE agents, you're being furloughed, we'll call you when you need to come back, because there was nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
They started backdoor amnesties for illegal alien parents. You know, well, if you want to talk about chain migration later, we can. All of this is connected. If we allow this group here to stay here under any type of an amnesty, they will immediately turn around and start sponsoring family members who in turn sponsor. It's called chain migration, and before you know it, we are just overrun. I'm sorry. You're supposed to throw something apart of the chart when you want to do that. Again, a bunch of stuff to read. You can see where he starts making some appointments here. USCIS, the new leader of them, pro-amnesty Leon Rodriguez, is now in charge of USCIS. And he recently publicly said out loud that, ooh, I see a typo, publicly said out loud that the United States immigration laws are unjust. Said that out loud. The other side jumped for joy. Okay, 2014, this whole document that FAIR did, because they tracked all of this stuff, only went up again until August of 2014. So much more has happened since then. But the enforcement is being shut down. It's just unbelievable how much our federal government is not doing. And our government, the current administration, has such contempt for law enforcement, you wouldn't believe it. A couple of years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. with a group of about 13 or 14 sheriffs, and we were having a press conference with Senator Sessions about illegal immigration. And we did a press release, and I got to the room over in one of the congressional buildings, and there was media everywhere. It was kind of cool, like in the movies where they're all at the back of the room with the cameras and everything. The Gang of Eight, which was in full swing at the time, knew what we were doing. They found out, and they announced their own press conference to go on at the same time ours was going on. All of our, it was like a cartoon. The media picked up all of their cameras and microphones and lights and went running out of the room to go to the Gang of Eight's press conference. There was like 2 media outlets left, and I'm not even sure who they are. You know, Podunk USA Times or somebody was left there. But they literally did that just to get under our skin. So our press conference, as you can imagine, went very quickly. There wasn't a whole lot there. And I love Senator Sessions. We're going to talk about a bill that he authored here in a little bit. We did, you know, I'm standing around all dressed up with a bunch of sheriffs, nothing to do. I said, you know what, guys, let's go to their press conference. So we did. Picture 13 or 14 sheriffs, and I'm out front. We're all running through these underground tunnels in Congress. We come out. We get to the congressional room where they're doing their press. It was a huge room, big auditorium type thing.
You in uniform?
I was not in uniform.
The rest of them?
They were all in uniform, and a lot of them were from Texas. So they had belt buckles this big, hats, they all seemed this tall, all had guns on, because we had everybody cleared. And we get there, and the doors are closed. Fortunately, the person that was in charge of admitting people into this room was a staffer for Harry Reid. So we only had to combat about 2.5 brain cells that were operating.
Ben Carson said it.
And we walked right in. Official business, law enforcement. So we get in there. Now, one of the people that was with us was Chris Crane. Chris Crane is a federal enforcement agent with ICE. He's an agent, carries a gun and a badge. He is also the president of the union that represents all of the ICE agents. He was the one that led the lawsuit against the Obama administration. He was the one that had the vote of no confidence in the Obama administration, and Secretary Napolitano. He was committing career suicide on a daily basis, but God bless him for what he did. Anyway, we got in there, and the Gang of Eight was up there, right on the stage. The 4 Republicans were here, 4 Democrats were there, and Schumer was speaking at the time. McCain was there with that painted on grin. Rubio was up there looking handsome as ever. Anyway, he got to the question and answer period. Chris Crane raised his hand while Schumer was taking questions. And he looks over and he recognized Chris. And Chris says, I have a question from law enforcement. And Senator Schumer said, we don't take questions from law enforcement.
Oh.
And, oh my God, this is America. This is at our Capitol. You cannot ask us a question. And everybody was looking. The sheriffs were all at the back of the room with me. Chris Crane kind of went into the crowd a little farther. He said, Senator, I have a question from law enforcement about your bill, Senate Bill 744. He goes, I'm going to tell you again, we don't talk to law enforcement about this. You got nothing in it. ICE has nothing in immigration enforcement. Anyway, one of the senator staffers made some hand signals or whatever. Next thing I know, a Capitol police officer, and they're just kind of like mall cops to me, went through the crowd, grabbed Chris Crane by the arm and dragged him out of there. He was ordered to remove Chris Crane from the auditorium. What he didn't count on, this poor Capitol police officer, was 13 sheriffs coming out into the hallway with Chris Crane. And this poor little DC cop was standing there holding Chris's wrist, surrounded by all these belt buckles and Stetsons and guns. And they detained Chris long enough for the press conference to end and then released him. That's what they think of law enforcement. Total disrespect. All right, 2014, we start talking about the flood of minors at the border. Now this is where there was a lot of tissues passed around Washington and around the United States about these kids coming across, the unaccompanied minors, that whole thing, the surges, which were actually occurring every year, by the way. But it was now we're focusing on the humanitarian part of this, the kids. If anybody in this room believes that an 8-year-old child walked from El Salvador, Guatemala, all the way across Mexico to our border and then crossed on his own, this unaccompanied minor, we need to talk. I got a minivan out there that's just awesome. I'll sell it to you. That's not what was going on with the surge, ladies and gentlemen. What was going on is families were coming. This was a well-orchestrated surge. It was orchestrated. A lot of our government was complicit in this. The Mexican government was involved. Up until these surges started occurring, any illegal alien from Central America caught crossing the southern border of Mexico, from Central America into Mexico, had to deal a lot of times with the Mexican military. It was very dangerous for the illegal alien to do that. It is against the law to sneak into Mexico. They do not like illegal aliens. All of a sudden, we had families by the thousands showing up at our border in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico, mostly in Texas. They were coming up as families. When they got within sight of the border, okay, kids, you go that way. Mom and dad are going to go this way, and we will reunite on the other side because the government will make sure and that's what was going on. Again, the Mexican government was involved in this. Several months before the big surge that was in our headlines constantly, the government was secretly seeking bids for people to transport. They were talking to a lot of religious organizations and churches, and we will pay you. Will you come to Texas and move these people from the border into the interior United States? They were already planning on how they're going to transport all these people. And the Mexican government issued cards to the people coming from Central America. They were transit cards. And they were paying for these cards. And this whole thing was overseen and enforced by the cartels, who have their hands in everything in Mexico. And they were issued these cards. They only, here's your card. You're from El Salvador. You just have to promise not to stay in Mexico. You just keep moving, get up there, and cross into the United States. Though they were no longer enforcing on the southern border. It was this mass migration of people. It wasn't this terrible. I don't know which one of our, it wasn't Obama, somebody else said this is a humanitarian crisis. Obama said that, but somebody else really pushed it. This is breaking our hearts, these poor kids. Unbelievable. And a lot of these kids were very big and very, very tattooed. And some of the first letters they ever learned were MS, followed by the number 13. There was recruiting going on in the Border Patrol stations in McAllen, Texas. MS-13 was recruiting like you wouldn't believe. There was graffiti all over the walls. This wasn't just like a bunch of daycares along the border, but that's what the media showed us. God bless the media. I used to think Fox was the only really good media left until that debate thing. I really didn't appreciate what they did. So anymore, but anyway, this is what the media wanted us to believe. And they just run with it, and they're assuming we're not caring if we believe it or not. It's very insulting. Anyway, here we are, we're near the end of August of 14. But if you go back, there are several hundred actual entries into this document and study that we did that will show you, and if you go through and read them, some of them are extremely shocking. Now, check this out. We all remember Big Sis Napolitano. Well, she was awesome, wasn't she? You know what's ironic is Secretary Napolitano, when she was the governor of Arizona, was one of the first states to implement E-Verify at the state level. She pushed it, and then becomes Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and all of a sudden she's on side B. So look who our new secretary is, Jay Johnson. He is a former attorney, and his big claim to fame is he was a major donator to the Obama campaign with zero law enforcement experience. Zero. He did have some counsel positions with the military, some very, he did some military work, legal stuff, but zero law enforcement. He's in charge of our Homeland Security. When ICE went shopping for a new director, now, the director of ICE is like the chief of police of ICE. ICE is a large federal enforcement, it's a huge federal police department in charge of enforcing our immigration laws and some other stuff. Look who got it, Sarah Salvania. Side A or side B? Again, I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but he purposely tried to get people in it that we'd be sympathetic to the Latinos and the Hispanics in the United States. Again, when I talk about illegal aliens, it's never about, those Mexicans this, those Mexicans that. They keep bringing it up, and I can't say that enough. Then Leon Rodriguez, we talked about him. Our system is unjust. Our new Attorney General, I didn't think you could get any better than Eric Holder. Here's our Chief Law Enforcement Officer in the United States. She should have not been confirmed. Our Congress should have been able to totally take her out at the knees. I mean, there's no reason why she should be the top cop in the United States. She stated publicly that illegal aliens have the same right to work in America as we do. They have that same right. Nowhere else in the world does that occur. One interesting thing are these guys, gals. The Murguia sisters, they're twins. Have you ever heard of them? Mary was appointed by Obama. Actually, she was appointed by Clinton. She's been in office for quite a while as a federal judge in the Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit, which is over in Pelosi land. She was reaffirmed by Obama. Look who her twin sister is. Janet Murguia, the president of the National Council of, say in English. The race. Okay. So who's racist? Now, any court decisions that are going to come out of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which, by the way, Sheriff Joe, all the mess that he's been in, falls under the Ninth Circuit. Where was the impartiality there? Here's La Raza at work. The Brown Berets, Murrieta, California. Do you remember when those brave citizens stood in front of the buses when they were transporting all the surge kids? And they said, no, not in our community. Well, first of all, the United States mobilized federal marshals and ICE agents and had over 30 federal law enforcement officers on the ground in Murrieta in less than 24 hours. When they want to address something, they will. But it was there to arrest American citizens for blocking these buses and federally obstructing business. La Raza sent in the Brown Berets. These are militant individuals who know nothing but violence, and they're the enforcers of La Raza, the race. And I had personal encounters with these types of people in Lima, Allen County, 3 hours from here, when I was arresting illegal aliens. I saw the tattoos with the fist and La Raza from shoulder blade to shoulder blade, and them telling me, we're the race, we will get you. You might get me today, but we will get you eventually. Very, very radical. Aztlan, are you familiar with that concept? This is actually being taught in universities on our southwest border, where it's very, very popular. Basically, Aztlan is a Mexican fairy tale, I call it, of paradise and what their idea of what the true Mexico really is. And they believe that these states are part of Aztlan, and this, when they talk about reconquista, reconquering, this is the area that they're going to target. And they stated they will not rest until Aztlan becomes reality. And they really do want to try to accomplish this. So when people say what's going on at the southern border is an invasion, for all intents and purposes, it is. And again, this is being taught in universities. And kids are being taught this kind of stuff. You know, you'll go to protests where they're saying, you know, this is our land, you took this from us. I mean, we can have that argument for, you know, if you want to boil it down to that, if we really did come in and take it from you, we want you lost to deal with it. You got your own country. I could solve all this in a minute. If we invaded Mexico, made them the United States, we have millions more American citizens, start paying your taxes, and you don't have to walk anywhere because you're already in the United States. Nobody will listen to me.
One too many more Democrats.
There you go. Well, yeah, that's true. Now, this is pretty much about the only way people came into this country. The sneaking in, the jumping fences, the tunneling, and that type of thing. There's other ways people sneak in, we'll talk about it a little bit, but our attitude toward non-enforcement, amnesty, sanctuary, benefits, the humanitarian thing, this is more reality now. Families walking across, coming into these detention centers. When we had sheriffs down in McAllen, Texas, a few months ago, one of the things they noticed, and sheriffs noticed, you know, sheriffs are the bosses. You know, when they would drive by a speedway and see 4 sheriff cars at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're all standing there drinking coffee, you know, we couldn't get out of there fast enough that we got in trouble. We're supposed to be out patrolling, but one of the things the sheriffs noticed was every border patrol vehicle, the parking lot was full. Nobody was out patrolling the border because they were inside making sandwiches, changing diapers, processing people. And basically, it was a giant wheel trying to relocate these people into the interior United States. And because Border Patrol was pulled off, Governor Perry at the time deployed the Department of Public Safety down to the border. So they were filling in and doing border enforcement while the Border Patrol agents were making sandwiches. The cartels didn't like it because the Department of Public Safety are state cops. And they addressed it. They saw that guy, they went after him, they arrested him. It made the cartels very, very angry, and they were losing money on the drug trade. But our federal government was working overtime. These people were being processed. They were Skyping. There was not enough agents there to process them, so they were putting these kids on Skype computers, talking to agents and other field offices around the United States to process them in. And then people were showing up saying, I'm here to claim him. Who are you? I'm his uncle. Prove it. Don't. No. There was no proving it. There was concerns that we were releasing children to human traffickers, people involved in the sex trade. There was no proof demanded of these people who they were. They just had to say, I'm a relative. And we were relocating people from McAllen, Texas all across the United States. And what got even really sad, has anybody flown lately?
Nope.
When you go to an airport, you know, you start, you know, sometimes it's real easy. You get that pre-screen thing, which doesn't make sense to me. I don't know you, but you get to go through this line. We're not going to search you. I don't get it. But anyway, typically though, flying and with TSA, it's one of the most invasive processes sometimes. You know, it's very short of a proctology degree sometimes when you go through those lines. But to move these people from Texas to New York to Massachusetts and places that far away, when they were processed, they were told, you're here illegally. You need to go to court. And court was usually anywhere from 6 to 8 months out because of the amount of people. They would give them a notice to appear. You've heard of that. That's what a traffic ticket is, notice to appear. Here you go. Here's your court date. Promise to appear. Sign here. Boom. They were given those papers. So their court date was 6 months from this day. And they were so, see you later. When they were given these notice to appears, they weren't showing identification. What's your name? Jaime Rodriguez. Notice to appear. Here you go. Court date 6 months from now. They would go to an airport and they were allowed to board our aircraft, our airlines, by showing the notice to appear. I'm Jaime Rodriguez. I just got here last week. This is my notice to appear in court. I talked to a Border Patrol agent. They were allowed to board that aircraft. I got a problem with that because I fly a lot and I want to come down slowly and in a very controlled manner. And we tried amnesty before, 1986. It was supposed to end illegal immigration forever, and we were supposed to secure the border. This was under President Reagan with the IRCA Act. And you can see the numbers up there. It was supposed to be a one-time amnesty, never to be repeated, and it was going to cure illegal immigration forever. And the American people said, you know what, if that's what you're promising, then we'll go along with this. And how did that work out for us? It just resets the clock. A lot of people call me and they're concerned and they say, Bob, if they pass amnesty, you're out of a job. No, I'm not. We just reset the clock and start all over. Because if we amnesty the people that are here, and how many people are here? What's the number in the media? Somebody say it. 11 million. See? See how this is being drilled into you? I've been with FAIR since 2009. They were saying 11 million then. They're saying 11 million today. Has anybody here ever owned guppies? It doesn't work that way. I talked to an ICE agent, and even though it can't be proven, but the federal official estimate from a guy that'll talk to me is anywhere from 30 to 45 million people that are here illegally in the United States. And why wouldn't there be? With what's coming down the pike, and they want to be here to get grandfathered in. 11 million. My God. This amnesty, and we didn't get the best of, our immigration system, one of the things that's nice about our legal immigration system is we can weed out the bad characters. And is it really too much to ask that if you want to legally immigrate to the United States and become a naturalized citizen, is it too much to ask that you be a productive member of our society instead of just showing up and saying, feed me, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. With that amnesty, we dumped millions of poor people on our society. And you can see what the cost is. After 10 years, over $78 billion is what it cost us a bunch of money.
Where are they going to get it? What happens when the money runs out?
I don't know. Well, they'll keep coming to us for it. I think we're good for it because they're still functioning. And basically, amnesty, I think we would all agree, the definition of amnesty, it's basically forgiving somebody for doing something wrong. Again, it doesn't make sense. There are a lot of other groups in the United States. I could, if I was a really smart attorney, was that an oxymoron? No, there's good attorneys out there. Can you imagine filing a class action suit on behalf of American citizens that are serving time in our jails and prisons? Let's say dads that don't pay child support. We want amnesty. All of us. And we're not getting it. So we're going to file a suit. Drunk drivers. Where does this stop? Look what's happening with same-sex marriages. Now, what's that organization, NAMBLA or something? They're saying, wait a minute, the Supreme Court's basically saying, same-sex marriages, they're in love with marriage, it's a union between two people, this is what they like, we got to respect it. And they can claim the same thing, people that are into child pornography.
Chuck calls it counterfeit marriage.
What's that?
Chuck calls gay marriage counterfeit marriage.
Counterfeit? Well, depending on what theories you subscribe to, I agree it's counterfeit. It's not sanctioned by my higher power in any way. But anyway, it's basically, amnesty is just forgiving. And where does it stop? Thomas Sowell, the noted economist, said it best. He said, immigration laws are the only laws that we work so hard to protect the people that break them.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Anyway, enough about amnesty. Well, amnesty returns home, that's a biggie. We're going to be jumping on and off the Homeland Security and the national security thing here as we get into the law enforcement part of this. But amnesty does threaten our national security. This country, we are so vulnerable. We are so vulnerable. And I reduce it down to, on the world stage, I compare where we're at as people, as potential victims, with that guy walking through the mall that gets taken out by the knockout gang. You've seen those videos? Where those thugs are running up and just nailing people to knock them out?
Yeah.
That's what our country looks like on the world stage. We're just walking around waiting for somebody to come up and one to us. Now, we're going to start talking a little bit about sanctuary. Now, there's been a lot of debate up in this area lately about what is a sanctuary city. I saw that Painesville was very, very quick to say, we are not sanctuary.
They are.
You know, we passed that resolution. When was it? Saying, yeah, we're going to. So you can be, very few cities, by the way, will actually come out and say, we're a sanctuary city, we're proud of it. But they can be sanctuary de facto by their policies and how they act. And that's where a majority, the high 90% of sanctuary cities fall. Sanctuary is basically sanctuary. You don't have to come out and admit it. I thought this was, you're starting to see all these graphics popping up. Look, I say nay, nay. We have them here. But a lot of these cities that are coming, but CIS, the Center for Immigration Studies, Jessica Vaughn, good friend of mine, very, very knowledgeable. They're working very hard to identify sanctuary cities. And one of the problems we're having, and this should be cleared up if Sessions' bill goes through, is what is sanctuary? You know, and they all got stuck on that. Well, define a sanctuary city. Nobody could come up with a definition. It's not in our lingo yet. I think we all know what it means.
The word sanctuary's got to be in the dictionary.
Absolutely. But when you try to define a sanctuary city, now there might be a city that does nothing more than allow illegal aliens to live there. And then you might have some that go even further, that shield them from law enforcement and that type of thing. So what is, I guess the best way to describe it, anybody that doesn't full on enforce our immigration laws, all of our laws, and deal with this thing the way it was written, the way it's supposed to be, with the laws enacted legally by Congress, now with a pen and a phone, anything less than that can be sanctuary. We did a study, I'm not going to bore you with all that, but basically it talks about sanctuary. So when you start, if you want to ask a city, let's say Painesville, are you a sanctuary city? And they say, absolutely not. See if any of these things fit. Ordinances and policies that prohibit law enforcement from honoring ICE detainers or cooperating with ICE in any way. Now, some people do it verbally, by policy. We're not going to do that. There's other states that are in major cities that are passing what they call the trust acts, if you've heard of them. Basically, they're state laws and local laws, all the way down to county ordinance levels, that are expressly forbidding law enforcement from cooperating with the feds in any way, which means, as a deputy sheriff, if I get this guy out of the car, he's an illegal alien. These laws are put into place to make it illegal for me to call ICE or Border Patrol and say, this is what I got. They're being told, you will not make that call. They cannot justify this to anybody. The only excuse that we talked about earlier was, well, if they're afraid of law enforcement, they're not going to report crimes. Well, first of all, if you're doing something illegal, like living here illegally, you should be afraid of law enforcement. My friend Julie in the back there has a perfect analogy. We'll talk about the grassroots rally team here in a bit. People with warrants out for their arrest are afraid. They're not going to walk into a police station and say, I want to report somebody broke into my car. And I got a $10,000 burglary warrant hanging over my head. They're afraid to go talk to the cops. So why are the illegal aliens, why are they different? It doesn't make sense. But there are trust acts like that in states, at the state level, all the way down to the local, smallest local villages need to